family. I am recording this. You are welcome to jump in here. You don't have to be on video. And if you are coming on live, you just want to mute yourself so that you don't hear the background. And I'm just on my Facebook so I can see if anyone has any questions or comments. I know it's kind of weird because there's a delay. So anyway, this has come up on many occasions about why am I so bloated in this time of my life? And there are plenty of reasons or potential reasons that this could be the case. I will say that 70% of women worldwide do report weight changes during menopause. It could be due to a slowing metabolism as your hormone levels are declining, but it could be that it's because we're tending to eat more when we are sleep deprived, if we're struggling with anxiety, or just in general, if we're having that feeling of blah, right? I've mentioned this plenty of times before, how food is more than just fuel in many cases. Food is very much an emotional source of comfort for us. There is definitely a physiological response that occurs specifically when we eat the salty, sweet, sugary, carbohydrate type foods, where it literally does relax your gut and is soothing. So that is a real effect. And it's why we often crave those types of foods. In addition to that, when you are sleep deprived, the hormones that are not necessarily sex hormones, they can tend to increase to make you crave more fatty, salty, sugary types of foods. So again, you've got all of these things fighting against you. And if you already are an individual that enjoys the sugar or may have a sugar addiction, you're going to struggle with just trying to avoid those cravings in the first place. But when the going gets tough, and if that's your go-to to feel better and get your mojo back, that is definitely going to be part of the cause of weight increase during this time. As a fact, though, as your estrogen levels change, this is also going to affect where your fat deposits actually move towards. For most menopausal women, the fat goes predominantly to your belly area. That is called your visceral fat. And unfortunately, that is the fat that kind of smothers your organs. And it's also the scary fat, which can cause issues with our heart, any kind of heart-related challenges, diabetes, blood pressure issues. That is predominantly going to be caused from excess visceral fat. And again, just like I mentioned earlier, it's not 100% the fact that we've had hormone changes, but it could be the treats that you are eating and the way your body is now reacting to those treats that has changed. So personally, I know that in the past, I didn't have to be so, I should say, dedicated to eating nutrient dense foods, but I know myself, if I have a night of binging especially after just coming off vacation, we ate some chips and guacamole quite a few times, and 10 years ago, that would not have affected my stomach. And literally twice on vacation, I felt like I was having a gallbladder attack. So the way your body processes foods in your menopause years are completely different than the way it used to process foods and how foods would make you feel or how it may affect the scale weight than it did. So at this point in time, I'm not saying don't have any occasional treats, because that's definitely not the way you want to live your life, but know how these treats affect you. Know how those treats are going to affect your scale weight, and then be a little bit more strategic and mindful about your eating and planning your day out, so that if you want to have street tacos and chips and guacamole for dinner, then maybe earlier in the day, you want to make sure that you're concentrating on more nutrient dense foods. So just a little FYI on the changes in your weight. So menopause not only changes the shape of your body, but it also increases your water and, unfortunately, your gas retention. Sometimes the fullness or tightness that you're feeling from these symptoms can make you feel heavier and larger than you really are. And honestly, that is probably one of the most upsetting and frustrating things for women to manage, especially if you've never had to before. So there could be reasons other than the fact that you're eating fatty foods you're feeling that bloated feeling. So just keep that in mind, that what is happening to your body may just be from the type of food that you're eating. But it can really put you in a dumper, looking in the mirror or putting on your pants and having that extra weight hanging around your belly, especially when you've done everything that you think you can and nothing seems to get rid of it. As frustrating as the new SpongeBob SquarePants look is, there are definitely ways to get it under control. The stats are that at least 20% of women will gain at least 10 pounds through menopause. But again, there are definitely ways to make weight loss possible. It's not impossible, but it does take some effort and kind of tracking and knowing what you're eating and how these foods affect your body. But bloating and retention are definitely affected by your estrogen levels. There are times throughout your day even where you're going to have higher levels of estrogen than at other times of the day, which is why having blood work done or doing testing of your hormones is often frowned upon by doctors, because there's such a fluctuation. And usually how they prescribe any kind of supplements or hormones are really based on symptoms versus blood tests, unless you're doing like the bioidenticals, and I know they do test your blood. So estrogen is one of the causes of water retention, but not the only cause. Stresses of menopause can cause problems with your gastrointestinal tract that can be aggravated by various changes in your diet, slower digestion, or other medical issues that may be going on, which might cause you to have extra gas. There is definitely a difference between fat gain and water or gas retention, because fat is definitely harder to lose, whereas gas and water retention typically are just symptomatic and can be fixed. Most often, these issues resolve themselves as your bodies adjust to the new hormone levels. But if you're not sure exactly what's happening, if you pay attention, like I said, to your diet and to your physical symptoms, knowing when you're distended throughout your stomach, holding water in your hands and your feet, experiencing more gas than usual, or having worsening symptoms after eating, or even at different times if you still are having your cycle. So if you're perimenopausal, this could be a completely different ball game for you. So what can you do to manage the bloating and the gas? Stay hydrated with water. You want to avoid the yummy fizzy drinks. Not much of a soda drinker, but I do like to have my LaCroix, my carbonated waters. And a lot of times that can be a cause for gas. If you've ever taken a big swig of a carbonated drink and you feel the need to belch, there's a reason for that. For some people, they may need to avoid cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, sometimes legumes such as beans and lentils, and definitely overly processed foods that are high in fat and salt. That was a big difference for me last week, but I also had gotten away from, and big difference in having foods like the chips and guac that are a little bit higher in fat and salt. But I also will notice, or did notice recently, after really not eating broccoli, which I used to serve to my kids all of the time, I decided I was going to try to have that, and I had horrific gas. So possibly if I continued to have that 7 days in a row, the gas might have gone away. But just the fact that I know cruciferous vegetables sometimes are affecting certain people, I kind of have a feeling that I really don't want to test broccoli again. Cauliflower, I don't seem to have a problem with. Brussels sprouts, I don't seem to have a problem with. So it's really knowing what foods affect you. Again, like I said, some legumes such as beans and lentils, some folks have trouble digesting those, and that can cause the bloated feeling as well. And definitely the processed foods that are higher in sugar and fat and salt. One other way is just reducing your salt consumption so that you are retaining less water, and perhaps introducing fermented foods such as sauerkraut, kefir, yogurt. Those are what are called probiotics. Sometimes folks take a probiotic pill. I would prefer to take probiotics through food form versus pill form if I had the choice, but that is something you may want to try. And again, sometimes the fermented foods might affect you. I have a friend that cannot eat fermented foods because she has trouble with her skin. So this is where doing an elimination diet could really come into handy for many, many people. And of course, exercising regularly will also help. So just one more reason to make sure that you're working out and making sure that you're moving your body. So like I said, if things worked for you in the past and they don't work for you now, there's a reason for that. And typically, I know personally myself, what I would do is start exercising more and eating less. And that used to work for me. Or I would eat less processed food, or I'd cut out the bread, or I'd start doing the cut out thing. And that would work. And then it didn't work. So I know now that I can't exercise more. First of all, it's going to kill my body and my joints. And really what I need to do is always go back to those anti-inflammatory foods when I know I'm on the struggle bus, and really start to focus on what it is that I'm eating and tracking it, writing it down. What are the symptoms that I'm having if I eat a food that I'm not normally eating? Also, eating less and working out harder actually makes the problem worse by already overloading an already stressed out body. So eating less and working out harder are both stressors on the body. And if you are already stressed out because you're not sleeping and you've got a lot of issues going on with family members or work or whatever it is that's causing stress, you're just adding additional stress, which is also going to drive your cortisol levels up, which is also then going to increase your visceral fat. So eating less and working out more are also stressors to the body. What ends up basically happening is you find no time to rest, and you're not recovering, and you're not also giving yourself the time to indulge in some self-care, which again is going to lead to further weight gain. And again, high stress increases the weight gain. So all this to say, that while your body and your weight may be changing, feeling healthy and strong is the more critical aspect of what's going on during this time. Really focusing on nutrient dense foods, and knowing what foods affect your body, and really keeping track of that. So you don't necessarily need to overhaul everything all at once. I always find that it's better to start from where you are and make small daily changes that are manageable, and never depriving yourself of the things that you love. But at the very least, trying to get yourself to feel better, feel stronger, and all of that leads to better self-esteem. And it's also gonna start to help you shrink that waistline, which is what we are all trying to do at this stage in the game. So if you have any questions, I'm just gonna pop in here and see if anybody has any questions while I'm here. You can drop questions in the chat, or you can drop questions on the Facebook Live. Otherwise, I am going to jump off. Looks like there are 4 people watching. If you guys have any questions, just post them in the comments below. You can jump onto Zoom, and I'll give you a couple seconds. The faster the carb and more processed the food, the worse it is for me. Absolutely. The later I eat them, the worse it is. Potato chips at night make me feel terrible. Not really question. No, but I appreciate the comments, because, you know, I think a lot of this is people really not knowing. And if you've never really tracked your food and how things affect you, and your eating is kind of all over the place, you're not going to know why you're feeling the way you feel for certain foods. And there are conditions that folks have, where they will say, go on, I think it's called a Fodmap diet. And I forget what that stands for. I'd have to Google it again. But you can Google Fodmap diets. But basically, and I have told one of my very, very good friends about doing an elimination diet. And she's like, well, I just can't do it. I'm like, well, it depends on how good you want to feel. If you want to keep feeling like crap, then don't do it. But if you want to try to get to the bottom of what's going on with you, why wouldn't you do it? So it's really just taking the time, the effort, and putting in the energy to figuring out how to feel better. And there are definitely things that you can do to drop your weight, and there are definitely things that you can do to feel better, before jumping right into doing things like HRT or MRT, I think they call it now. So just, you know, just spreading the hope that not all is lost, and there are changes that you can make without having to run to the doctor and you know, get a prescription, which unfortunately is what many people look for. So diet, nutrition, exercise, movement, water, sleep, stress management, it all plays into your overall health. So if anybody is looking for help or guidance in this realm, that's what I do. And, you know, basically, as a client, you are handheld through how to make changes. And that's exactly what happened with me. I hired myself a coach, and I decided that I was tired of living the way I was living. I needed to make change for myself and my family, and I just made shit happen. But if you sit back and you don't change anything, nothing's going to change. So hopefully that helps somebody out there. I'm also going to drop this so folks can watch it on the replay. And if you have any questions, you can always shoot me a message or drop a note in the comments below. And I can try to help you. If I can't help you right away, I can help you find the answers. So have a good night. And oh, do you have a question, Krista?
No, I'm not sure what happened. I just got in the meeting. I'm so sorry.
No, no worries. I will, it's recording, so I will upload it and I will post it so that folks can see it on the replay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're very welcome. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.